When we work with images in Photoshop, the height and width of the image will often matter. In many cases, they need to be precise to fit on a web page or in a manual or other paper. But when do we use image size versus canvas size? The difference between the two can be understood by whether you want to take the image as it is and make it larger or smaller, or if you need some blank space somewhere around the original image for something else. To use the first one, image size, we go to the image menu and slide to image size about a third of the way down and click. We can then type in the numbers we want for width or height. If constrained proportions is on, the chain button here on the left, the change of height or width will adjust the other accordingly, as you can see. Then, of course, we can click OK. And checking the rulers, we see that the file size did indeed change. The image size, that is. It's simple to specify the dimensions in inches, centimeters, or pixels, depending on what the client or company needs. And in many cases, we want to turn on constrained proportions at left to keep the aspect ratio, the ratio of height to width, so the image isn't distorted. We can also use image size to change the resolution, the level of detail in the image, usually expressed in pixels per inch. A picture can be small, say a couple of inches square, like a postage stamp, but high resolution, as much as a few thousand dots per inch. The smallest number we usually use for printing purposes would be about 300 pixels per inch, about the limit that the human eye can make out. And again, clicking OK will let us take a look. Changing the resolution almost always affects the file size on disk. Luckily, the current and former file sizes will be displayed at the top of the box, so we can keep an eye on them when we use this feature. Canvas size, however, lets us add working space to the image on one or more edges. We bring up the canvas size dialog, just below the image size, in fact. We can specify how much bigger, or occasionally smaller, we want the image to be, and where we want to anchor the original image. That is, where we want it relative to the new canvas we're tacking on to the current piece of work. One analogy I heard a while back was the idea of unrolling new canvas from underneath the old. We could change the width as well as the height here without fear of changing the aspect ratio of the original image, since we are not making it taller, shorter, wider, or narrower, but simply adding on space around it. Technically, both of these features can increase the file size on disk significantly, so we need to be a little careful. But they're very useful to modify the files in a way which can make them more flexible, so they're well worth learning.